What's up, Isles fans? Matt O'Leary here for Up the Turnpike, and today I want to go through some tough roster decisions that the New York Islanders have to make. So, the New York Islanders have played a handful of preseason games so far, and they have a couple left before they have to make any final decisions, but I think it's going to be difficult for the Islanders to narrow down their forward group. So, Patrick was specifically called out by name: Julien Gauthier, Maxim Tiplakov, and Simon Holmstrom, who are people who stood out having strong camps. And I would say Tiplakov and Holmstrom absolutely have a guaranteed spot in the lineup. Julien Gauthier, not so much, but he is one of the many guys set up or, essentially fighting for a 13th forward spot. And Julien Gauthier actually scored a really nice goal that was set up by Maxim Tiplakov. And Gauthier adds a speed element, which we know Patrick Roy wants to play with a little bit more tempo this year. And, instead of in years gone by, the Islanders don't play with as much speed and tempo to their game. So you would think that Gauthier might end up fitting in well for what he would like to do. But last year, once Patrick Roy got here, Gauthier wasn't a regular part of the lineup. Now, if you asked me today, I would bet on the opening night lineup, it looks something like Duclair, Horvat, Barzal, Holmstrom, Nelson, Palmieri, Lee, Pajot, Engvall, and Tiplakov, Zizekas, McLean on the fourth line. Now, I don't think Engvall deserves necessarily a starting spot in the lineup, but on a 6 years remaining deal at $3 million, he's going to get the first crack, and we'll see if anything changes. But here's some guys who I think are fighting for that 13th forward spot: Hudson Fasching, Julien Gauthier, Matt Martin, Oliver Wahlstrom, and Liam Foudy, who is a newcomer. Now, honestly, I hate to say it like this, but I think we can cross Matt Martin off the list. I just don't think he fits the direction the Islanders are trying to go now. As I said, they are playing with much more tempo and are going to be more of a transition team. And that's not Matt Martin's game. He does not skate very well. He is a physical fourth line grinder, essentially. And, at one point in his heyday was a fighter. He doesn't really fight all that much anymore. He's 35 years old. Love everything that he's done for the Islanders and for the Long Island community. But unfortunately, I just think it's time, and he didn't really look all that great in the one preseason game he has played. Now, looking at the guys who were here last year, of the three, Fasching, Gauthier, and Wahlstrom, Fasching played the most. He played 45 games. Oliver Wahlstrom ended up playing 32 games for the Islanders last year, and Julien Gauthier played in 27 games. I don't know if that's any saying like who's going to have a leg up in the fight for this year. But based on how it went a year ago, they gave Fasching significantly more run. Wahlstrom didn't play at all down the stretch. Gauthier didn't play, at all down the stretch. But of the crop listed above, I think Gauthier has looked the best so far in training camp and in the preseason. Hudson Fasching got banged up this past week with a lower body. This is the second year in a row that he's gotten banged up during training camp in the preseason, which I think is going to hurt his chances. Oliver Wahlstrom, still waiting for him to figure it out. I know, he had at one point, he was drafted so high because he had a really good shot. He is not converting with that shot. The last 2 years, his numbers have really plummeted, and I get it. He was coming off an injury a year ago, but I would be really, really surprised if he ends up winning that job. But someone who is a late riser and has become a fan favorite is Liam Foudy. He looked great against the Rangers, by the way, had a 96.6 expected goal share. And then the next game against Philadelphia, he led the way for all Islanders, not just forwards, but for Islanders in expected goal share. So in the most recent two games, he has stood out as a major, major positive. And again, plays with a little bit more speed. When he was brought in, I thought, okay, probably an AHL body, but look, if the Islanders could use some depth, which we know that they can for the 13th forward spot, it might end up being this Liam Foudy fella, which was a surprise to me. I did not think he would have a huge opportunity to win the job. My assumption was Hudson Fasching, but especially with Fasching banged up, well, in comes Liam Foudy, and he might push for some playing time too. I mean, Simon Holmstrom didn't exactly run away with it down the stretch last year. He started off hot and then went ice cold. And for Pierre Engvall, guy hasn't been that good. When he was brought in via trade the first year, he finished the season very strong and looked good in the playoffs. Last year was pretty much invisible. So I don't know how long of a leash he's necessarily going to have. But anyway, that's why I think the Islanders have a very difficult decision to make coming up this week. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Let me know down below in the comments who you think wins that spot. Also, make sure to subscribe on Patreon if you haven't already for bonus New York Islanders content, 2 full-length podcast episodes every week. You got a ton of other extra content. You get access to a Discord full of Islanders fans. It's a whole lot of fun over there, so make sure to check it out. Guys, that'll do it. I'm Matt. I'll catch you next time.
If you like that, make sure to subscribe to Up the Turnpike on Patreon for more exclusive New York Islanders content.